Jam. This is an absolute stop. Valiant, keep the dream alive. Somebody stop this guy.
Immediately XC strikes.
Carpe comes back with the Widowmaker.
Joy on the ambush. And now the charge fighting their way back on in.
Welcome everybody, this is it, the 2020 North American Playoffs. My name is George, joined by Hex. We're about to step into the action. Elimination games today. We have Boston Uprising against the Houston Outlaws as our first series.
And the way our format works is that one of these teams still has a chance to be a champion. Actually, both still have a chance to be the champion. Loser will go home today in the knockout rounds. And despite only having 2 wins in the entire regular season, the Boston Uprising could complete the best underdog story ever partaken in any sports, either fictional or in reality. Those are the games that we're going to have today. As you said, Boston versus Houston, Washington versus Vancouver. Tomorrow is even more knockout rounds. Of course, we'll have a selection show at the end of the day today to see what those matches are going to be. It is win or go home today, Jaws. We've got a new meta. I'm stoked.
Yeah, this new patch has thrown a couple of weird meta comps that are currently being played in solo queue. We'll just have to see if that does materialize here today. I can't imagine we're going to see a whole lot of Zarya Hog, but maybe so. I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see, of course. Boston Uprising versus the Outlaws. Like you said, the Boston Uprising, a little bit of a tough season, to say the least.
Yeah.
But still, bright sparks here and there. Jerry and Myungbong have been just carrying the team, or at least trying to. And the footage you can see on the screen right now is all the way back in week number 3 at the Washington homestand that me and you were at, Hex. And it has felt like light years ago, blinked, and we're already here in the playoffs, right? But that was a epic, as you can see, wording right there, epic 7-map match. It was phenomenal. I can't remember yesterday, but that series, oh, that's fresh in my mind almost. That was just a ridiculous feat. I didn't think we'd see something so long, especially at a homestand. Rather grueling, but Boston did win out at the end of it all.
Yeah. Well, right there with you. Time doesn't exist in 2020. I mean, the regular season, blink and you missed it. We're here in the playoffs. So, yeah, one of the 2 teams that Boston beat this year was the Houston Outlaws all the way back in Week 3. Now, in Week 10, Houston did get the revenge, and they were able to beat Boston then, so 1-1. But if you're Boston, maybe that gives you a little bit of confidence. You look across the screen, see those guys in green, and say, well, we've beat them before. It's completely possible we can beat them again. And, you know, we're going to reiterate it a lot. With the regular season played on hero pools and played on different patches, we're in a new era right now. It's kind of the wild card era, and anything can happen. Boston's got some good players on this team who are able to carry depending on what heroes they're able to play.
Let's have a look at the lineup, though. Jerry, Color Hex, we've got Fusion's Punk, Halo, and Myungbong. No changes there whatsoever. You'll be very surprised. I think a lot of us will be surprised if we see some drastic changes to rosters, especially in the playoff. You want to play your best 6 at all times, and that's exactly what they're going to be running with. Like I mentioned before, Jerry has just been such a shining star for the team, and of course, looking at some of that footage back from the homestand, he really made a name for himself as kind of a little bit of a personality too. Everybody's a fan of Jerry, who I think will be hard to find a person that isn't at this point. And of course, Myungbong 2's Ana has just been spectacular. Let's have a look who they're facing up against today. You know them, you love them, the Houston Outlaws. And Hex, there's a couple of small changes. This
some
graphic
interesting
is
stuff going on
not
here.
wrong.
I mean, like, Hydration is going to go back to damage. You may know him only as a main tank if you've only been watching this season, but he is a damage extraordinaire. Blase, former Boston Uprising Blase, would like to get some revenge on his old team. He's going to be playing the tank role, and Dante, of course, will be the carry for the Houston Outlaws. But some of this is really interesting. Maybe it's the new meta, maybe it's the new patch, maybe it's Control coming into it too. Previously on Control, we've seen mostly double shields with a Sigma and an Orisa, sometimes a Rhine sprinkled in there as well, but now shields have just taken a hit. They're not as powerful as they used to be. So maybe this is the lineup they're going to run throughout the rest of the day on these roles, but I think it's more of an indication that Control is just even more chaotic than it generally is. So we'll see. Probably some Roadhog, maybe some Doomfist, maybe some Zarya. A lot of weird changes going on, but I think that maybe as the day goes on and we go to different map modes, you'll see the meta kind of stabilize. Rumor is it's going to be very dive-centric.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Maybe a little bit of dive, maybe a bit of Hog Zarya. But one player on the Outlaws who's been performing exceptionally well on things like Tracer and Sombra, and as soon as those things do come in the meta, it's been Dante. Of course, we all know Linksa can click heads, but Dante can chase people down and just solo carry from the front line and, well, just kind of Wing and wanting into your back line, just killing off supports left, right, and center. Dante Sombra's been so good. His Tracer as well has been stellar, and there's something the Outlaws are definitely going to have to rely on in this meta that's quite variable, it seems.
Well, the hack rate is fantastic, and I really do think we're going to see a lot of Sombra once we get past the Control stage of the game. Our excellent stats guy, Ben, does a little bit of Scrim scouting for us, and mostly towards the end of the week when Scrim stabilized, it became very dive with Sombra kind of in it. Now, right now, I would definitely give Houston the edge in the Sombra department, as ColorHex's Sombra has been shaky, but I think the one thing that you can look at if you're Boston to really try to carry you, and you hit on it, is Myungbong. Watching tape review of him, he hits some of the, well, I mean, dumbest darts I've ever seen in my life in the best way possible, and I think you're going to see a lot of Ana being played today. So this is it. Brand new meta, brand new kind of lineups going on here, and loser goes home. This is it. We're going to kick it off on Lijiang, Jack.
Yeah, I mean, it's Ana's field day, right? It's perfect. You playing Hog? You playing, really? You playing Hog against my Ana? Easy sleep darts, easy nades. Like I said, I'm sure you've all experienced in solo queue already with the Zarya and Hog combos. It's been kind of frustrating if you just get picked off by the flanking Hog, but that's what your Ana's there for, to try and at least subdue him just a little bit. We're going to go on to Night Market first, or Night Garden, sorry, first. I wonder if, yep, there it is. Okay, there it is. What? I was going to say, whoa, are you using Orisa? There's no way, surely. Your shields just instantly destroy. I mean, D.Va and Hog is almost perfect. There's no Zarya, of course, but the D.Va's going to act as kind of a deterrent for the Hog. If he does get a hook in, the defense nature is going to bathe the person. And, well, Dante is off the edge. Not the best start for the Outlaws in the playoffs as Dante jumps off. And now Boston Uprising fighting with a man advantage. As I say that, Blase going down now as well. So a 4v6 for the Uprising as the point unlocks, and they should be able to get the first cap.
Yeah, we had also heard a rumor that 1 or 2 North American teams were running mostly just Pharah composition, so maybe this is something that Houston will run throughout the day, although Pharah has always been good on this particular point of Lijiang Tower, so not the biggest surprise. That's not how you want to start off the playoffs if you're Dante, and an unforced error going there. Boston with first control here. Now the matchup is kind of interesting because Jerry versus Hydration is going to be the thing you want to watch. Can they put pressure on the Pharah?
Oh, nice hook. Oh, the nano onto Blase, but it's instantly set. Someone does end up waking him up. Potentially that was Punk, just randomly spraying and praying. Jerry takes out Hydration, and ColorHex in a little bit of trouble. Jexay luckily gets the Resurrection off, but Boston still control the point, and no res available now for the Outlaws as Dante and Hydration fall to Jerry. Make that a third as Jerry's Bob ends up cleaning off Mekko. Jexay says he's had enough. He's going to jump off the edge, go for a reset. And that'll be the Houston Outlaws failing to cap the point and really getting any space there whatsoever. Blase getting nano to almost perfect. If he gets a halt, then a hook. Sorry, a hook, no halt. If he gets a hook, then a one-shot on somebody. Best way to start out a fight. Blase ends up going down for just a hook off the edge, and now Boston Uprising sitting with 5 ults now.
Yeah, watching Boston recently, really the only fights they win is when Jerry gets more than 2 kills. 2 or 3 kills, you saw it come through in that fight. I really do think if this meta allows just hitscan and Ana play, that the 2 best players for Boston could carry them to an early victory. And so far, Myungbong's taking sleep and Jerry's getting kills.
Oh no, ColorHex says Nano. Oh, they just run down Dante. GXA's dead as well. Oh, what a pause. Oh, first pause of the playoff. Let's get him out quickly. Everybody make sure they hit the pause button now so we don't have to do it a little bit later on. Looks like an auto pause. Okay, so someone end up DCing, unfortunately.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of Houston end up DCing there. So unfortunate for the Houston Outlaws. But, you know, even though it is the playoffs, the postseason, we still have our regular caster curse Jaws, and we get pauses and long technical issues. So it's just really in keeping up tradition. We want the vibe to feel similar to the playoffs as it has in the regular season. And yeah, even the admin actually messaged me once. You guys are cursed, and I can't argue with it at this point.
True. Like I said, we get them all out now. We just bite that bullet as a casting duo, and then no other duo has to deal with it. That's how that works.
I mean, someone's got to do it. Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah, someone's got to do it. Well, that's unfortunate. Well, Color Hex is just kind of running through people, and now it's really last fight for the Outlaws. I mean, Uprising, they still have a couple of ults online. They've used Nano and Falk. Of course, you can't see it. You're currently looking at the player cams, and the Houston Outlaws looking a little bit confused at what's happening, but hopefully they should be getting back into the game. Looking at Meko's cam, it does look like someone's loaded there in the background, so it should be all good to go in a couple of seconds, I can imagine.
You know, to carry on traditions, you and I have a tradition here where I like to give you a little pop quiz. How many eliminations do you think the Houston Outlaws have right now?
A single one.
You nailed it. I think it's the first time you got it right. They have one single eliminations. Fusions has, well, excuse me. Fusions was the one who died. Blase got him early on in the Hog Duel.
Wow, I'm crazy, dude. I don't know.
You're bringing your postseason game already. Like, you're cracked.
Oh, yeah. Well, hopefully we get to see some more Overwatch in a couple of seconds. Looks like we're going to quickly jump to a small break. We're going to have a look at the comms check from last week. We'll see in a bit.
Hello? Hello? Where's my team?
Mic check, 1 2 1 2.
Sound is always changing.
Maybe it's your ear, Soji.
Your mom.
Wait, Crimzo. Why does dude call you delicious? Sparkle called Crimzo delicious.
Delicious, baby.
Most nervous.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
never nervous.
What? Are you nervy?
No, I'm angry because Tuba always hack me.
We dominate them here, we break their mental. We'll boom. 100% will boom. What do you mean? What do you mean what I mean?
Most nervous. Never nervous.
Anubis?
Guys, do you think Los Angeles will win?
This match means so much to me. Really nervous. You gotta hype it up.
I'm so hyped.
Oh my god, space. Where did that energy come from?
Everyone ready? Yes, sir.
I'm not ready, I'm eating candy.
What? This.
My dog's eating her own
so
leg.
good at it. She's what?
Most nervous.
Boy, I'm never nervous.
I'm nervous.
You bully me, making me angry. Most nervous.
Hey guys, welcome back. The issues have been solved. We will get into the game momentarily. Boston Uprising versus the Outlaws. And Uprising, well, Hex, they currently control the point. Outlaws not looking so hot right now. The Nano onto Color Hex was enough to finish everybody off. At least Outlaws have a few ults coming back, but it's going to be last fight.
Yeah, it is absolutely going to be last fight as we're at 85 and counting up. And you mentioned the ultimates that the Outlaws have. You would love to get Repel in there too, because the Nano boost is going to be really important on several of these damage-dealing ults. You would like to Nano the Barrage from the Pharah to make sure that she's able to stay alive. You also would like to Nano Whole Hog just to get that extra oomph in the damage. We'll see what order they get it in as Repel is nearing Nano.
Have to actually get hydration into... Oh, that was close. Outlaws didn't touch there for a brief moment. I thought it was all over. Jexley's already going to go down. Hydration's in no man's land. He's to the back. At least Dante gets the pulse bomb off onto Jerry, and Outlaws are still, attempting to control the point. Hydration gets the barrage off, but Myungbong does end up sleeping it. But Dante's in the back, but Myungbong hits another sleep. Oh my god, it's perfect. He's going to be able to take out Dante too. The Outlaws still managed to cap the point. However, the Boston Uprising still have the healer alive there. Blaze is going to be in trouble. He's still got the breather, but that's coming up in a couple of seconds. Not quite quick enough, though, as Fusions enters life. And now it's all up to Outlaws to try and get back onto the point to touch. Punk has the self-destruct to clear everybody off. Meko's going to launch his out, but Bob from Jerry is going to finish off Baby Diva. And this should be Uprising getting the flip. The Outlaws still managing to touch. Contesting in OT as Lucio gets back to the point, but Jexay is 1v6ing currently. Hydration tries to get back on the Farah, but he's not going to be good enough to make it there. Health bar depleted, and the OT ticking down. Jexay eventually falls, and this should be now the Uprising taking this first stage. Dante managed to kirk off Jerry, but I don't think it's going to be enough here unless he finds something absolutely humongous. Nope, Pulse Bomb takes out Meko, and that will be it. The Boston Uprising. They're going to take Night Gardens. First stage down for them.
It was just such great play from the Boston supports early on when they lost. I believe it was Jerry. They wanted to go for the resurrection quickly. It was a nice play by Hydration to get in there and hit the barrage. But then it was just Myungbong going absolutely nuts. He lived with about 2 HP, camped a pack, got a couple. And yeah, that's when Houston flipped the point, but it means Boston gets back in with their full squad. Myungbong's still alive in the corner. And if this is going to be the compositions that we see, that's the early, oh, those hurt, recall.
Are you kidding
into the
me?
drink. And
that sucks.
Yeah, it looks like we
They're
have
like,
another
pause.
pause.
Okay, that didn't happen. Can we scrub that, please? Dante's like, can we delete that from the files? Delete that, please.
Jerry did a really good job of shutting down the combo in the sky, right? And he did it without his own Zenyatta, which usually helps you take down the Pharah Mercy combo, but he was getting a lot of help from Punk. He was getting a lot of help from Myungbong too. Look, when there is a Pharah and Mercy on the other team, it is not just Hitscan's job, so stop yelling at me on ladder. It is a team job to take down the Pharah and the Mercy. That's 2 heroes in the sky. Jerry did great. I think if Houston wants to prevent that in the future, although I don't think we'll see Pharah on this map, it's got to be up to Dante to pressure out Jerry. And when he started doing that, that's when Houston showed signs of life.
Problem is, though, Hex, you do have double main heal, so
yeah,
it's kind of hard to take down the Jerry, if you will. I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, Dante, his job is to do that, but then you're also running into an Ashe as Tracer when Ashe has damage boost, which is a one-shot to the body. So it's a very tough time for Dante. It feels like they have to just commit their whole selves in order to distract Jerry for long enough in order for Hydration to get value. Of course, at the end there, it was actually just down to Myungbong. Like you said, he was camping a pack, 2 HP, managed to sleep Dante and kill the Farah. Like, what more can you ask from your Ana player? Not much else, really.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a great meta for him. That's why you see Divas a lot of the time. Divas, like, she's a fine hero, but the Divas really just try to shut down the Ana to make sure that the nades aren't hitting, that the darts aren't hitting where they need to be. And also one of the downsides of being a Pharah-centric team is that you're probably going to lose the ground fight. If there's a time where your Pharah's in the sky with the Mercy, that means you have numbers and better healing on the ground. And you saw Boston take great advantage of that by pushing in to the less healing sides of the Houston Outlaws composition. They just pushed into the point and were like absolutely crushing it. So if your Pharah is not getting enough value, you're putting the rest of your team at a huge disadvantage.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're going to have to jump to another quick break. We are just trying to fix whatever is currently the problem with the Houston Outlaws. Hopefully, we'll be back momentarily, guys. Do not go anywhere. Of course, this is the start of the playoffs. We'll see you in a bit.
grading fruit. I'm scared of every grader ever. Scared. What if I take off my fingertips, like my knuckles, by accident? Ah! What's up, friends? Today I will be teaching you how to make my absolute favorite Swiss cookies. I think they're Swiss, I'm not actually entirely sure, but I associate them with home, so for the sake of this video, they shall be Swiss now. Mailandele. They're technically more of a Christmas cookie, but I just make them all year round because every day is Christmas in my house. However, there will be, of course, a special twist because I like to be artsy, so I made my own cookie cutters and my own cookie stamps. I don't know, is that a thing? I think it is. I think that's how it's called. I'm not entirely sure. It's actually quite simple. There is not too much to it. It's pretty much like any normal sugar cookie you will make. So we're starting things off with mixing the sugar as well as the butter. That needs to get into a foamy kind of texture. I'm using a stand mixer, you can use a hand mixer, or you can just go old school and actually whisk it by hand. I'm just lazy, so I'm not doing that. Grab that. We're adding the butter, which preferably should be room temperature. That looked gnarly. Why is it liquid? I pre-melted it a little bit, but that was kind of gross. I'm not gonna question it. I'm just gonna accept it for what it is. And sugar. So your first step is to mix 250 grams of butter at room temperature, so it needs to be soft and easy to mix, and you mix that together with 250 grams of sugar. That's right, we're not doing cups, we're doing grams. If you have a kitchen scale, please use it. Cups are just not an accurate measurement. Baking is science, and therefore it needs to be accurate. Now mix the butter and the sugar until it's foamy. Yeah, that's right, foamy. Alright, enough. Like, what I hate is this, the white bit, that 2 whole eggs. So technically it calls for the lemon zest of 1 lemon, but I really love them zesty and lemony. So this is just a sugary, buttery, lemony goodness. And needless to say that that's, well, that went everywhere. That's actually not that bad. Let's not add all the flour at once. This is 500 grams. We're now gonna add it about 1/3 or so at a time. Now, after the dough rested in the fridge for roughly 30 minutes, we're now taking it out, rolling it out with a rolling pin, and it has to be done on a floured surface because, I mean, let's face it, this dough is practically just sugar and butter, meaning it's gonna stick to everything in its mother. After you've rolled out the dough on a floured surface, it is finally time to cut your cookies. So I brought my cookie cutters. I do have a little tracer, a Reinhard, as well as a Senora. Cookies in Swiss we call Guetzli. Again, slow. Guetzli. You're welcome. I charge extra for my Swiss lessons. I'm not stealing dough, you're stealing dough. I'm gonna continue this now, eating lots of dough in process. Then I'm gonna show you my babies when they're done. Also, I wasn't kidding, I really do love lemons. zebra display. What is that? Ooh, hi. Right, time for an intro. Hi! Hey, what's up everyone? Thank you so much for watching yet another video of mine. I don't know why I'm leaning forward so dramatically, but this is really important because it's an intro. I already got all the ingredients ready. Ingredients. I think that's the plural. Today I will be making cookies. I will be making cookies. It's very early. That's a lie. I just remembered that there is a clock in the background, so if I lie, you might actually call me out. So it's not very early, but I haven't been awake for very long. There we go. Truth comes out eventually. Of course, we have the recipe written down in our recipe book. And that's right, I have an old school leather-bound recipe book because why not? Like the idea of having that in my dough just kind of bugs me. I guess that's the cord, the navel. I don't know the English. I don't know the English word for it. A little embarrassed. I'm gonna look it up now. Umbilical cord. Also called the navel string. Okay, I was like this close. Okay, I shouldn't have Google searched. That looks like some bad dried beef jerky. Oh my, what is that? Regrets. Well, anyway, let's make some cookies.
Welcome back. Let's go. Let's get into game. It looks like Outlaws have sorted their issues, their tech issues that they've had, and we are about to go. So, like I said before, Hegs, let's get these all out of the way first, so then we can make sure everybody else has a smoother ride. Also, really quickly, can we just mention how talented Zoe is at basically anything? It's just ridiculous.
It's almost infuriating how talented she is. It's kind of angry. So, you know, Zoe and I are friends, so I can tell her that it's a little annoying. Anyway, we have a Reinhardt spotted here as we're going to go into the control center of Lijiang Tower.
Oh, Dante's dead. Well,
wasn't even
Outlaws are going to have to reset. All right, well, there you go. What a start to this map, huh? The hydration just gets rocked out of the sky, and then Dante gets snucked up upon like a splinter cell.
You know, it's strange to be running a Pharah here. I mean, I think the last time I saw it run successfully was maybe when Tailspin was on Envy. That's an old school reference if any of y'all get it, but it's been a long time since you see a lot of Pharah run on this particular point of Lijiang Tower. Houston's going to try to run at it again. Blaze's got control of the high ground. Maybe you can get your Pharah up there to help out.
Okay, he doesn't end up killing someone, and now he's dead. That was the hog flank I was promised, though, with Hog being played in the Overwatch League. Didn't quite end up working out, especially against a Mei who can just wall and freeze you. Little bio grenade in the front. Shouldn't mean a whole lot. I mean, Outlaws have got a tank down, and Meko is going to be able to kind of contest this point, but not for long. Jerry on the McCree is making sure hydration is kept at bay. Immortality Field and Ice Block have been used, though. This could be the time to strike for the Outlaws. Repel's looking for a big bio grenade in the back line as well, but hydration is going to go down yet again. Jerry is going to get saved from that bio grenade, and the window's even going to get used too. Dante falls, and that should be it once again. The Outlaws struggling right now to even gain just an inch of space on this point. They've at least killed fusions. Maybe this is the start that they needed, but with Blase going down, that's a lot of pick potential fallen too.
You have to wonder if Houston was just running this, because Houston hasn't played in a couple of weeks. They had finished before we did makeup games, whereas Boston has had to play it. So Houston might have just been running this for a long time, scrimming it. But right now, Boston's got the perfect answer. It's double shield, triple shield if you want to count Ice Wall, and you just let Jerry do his work. Jerry can be a carry kind of hero for this team, and they've also got a Baptiste to help out against Pharah.
You've got to be careful, though. Immortality Field's going to get used early. Hydration. It's got the barrage, but it gets cancelled. The Immortality Field's killed by the barrage, but he still manages to make do with the backline. Halo takes him out, but he takes Myungbong and Punk with him. Resurrection as well onto Hydration, and Outlaws end up capping the point.
It is only a single fight needed for Boston to take this first map of our knockout round in the Overwatch League 2020 playoffs. Jerry's going to have the High Noon, which should at least be able to zone out the Pharah Mercy combination. Fusions has Shatter, and Punk with the Flux. Flux and the High Noon can actually just crush the ground force as well. One of the biggest priorities for Boston should be trying to get Meko out of his mech.
Oh,
he's going for the highest of noons.
Yep. Can try and Sam Fisher again. He's got Myeongbong up here as well with him. Alright, I can imagine they was going to use Immortality Field, but they want to just send it to low ground. They're all going to push onto the point now. Jerry foregoing the high ground, dropping instantly as soon as he saw that Tracer on the back. Myeongbong ends up going down. They're going to use the beat in the high noon simultaneously as Meko throws out the bomb as his mech is destroyed. Hydration goes down as well, as now the Outlaws need to touch in order to contest. However, the Fox is going to make sure none of them can do that, and Punk and Fusion lay down their ult. Blase is going to bite the dust, and the Outlaws, they get wiped off the point. The space control from Uprising was perfect, and they take the first map in the series.
Austin, you have to say it's a little bit of an upset here over the Houston Outlaws. Remember, Houston picked to play against Boston in this knockout round. Houston trying to run the Pharah Mercy. Boston with every answer in the world for it. Jerry comes through at the end. It seems like it's a really gutsy high noon with the Roadhog around, but remember, Roadhog just used the hook. If this meta kind of continues with an Ana, with the Roadhog, maybe a Zarya in the mix, you have to pay specific attention to these small abilities. Hook down, nade down, dart down. Those are the calls that you're going to hear in comms. And so when he knows the hook is down, he just lets loose with the Deadeye, zones everybody out. And you're right, the space control from the tanks on the ground, especially from the Boston Uprising, was superb. And they take map number 1 in our first map of the Overwatch League playoffs.
Well, that's what Double Shield does best, right? At the end of the day, is control a whole lot of space.
Yep.
And I think Outlaws were almost hoping that Boston would run a mirror with the Hog and the Diva. Not to be, and Hydration didn't really get too much done on the fire. Managed to win that one fight, but Jerry clapping back on the Kree. We're going to jump to a quick break, guys. Do not go anywhere. Map number 2 coming up soon.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network, T-Mobile. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Hey guys, welcome back. Map number 2 coming up now. This is the Boston Uprising against the Outlaws, and Hex, we're going to Numbani, where neither of these teams currently have a win on Numbani, so it is loser's pick. So it's like, haha, we haven't won it. We don't care about that. You haven't won it. We care very much about that. Maybe we can win here. So one of these teams is going to at least claim a win on Numbani this season. That's always a nice thing, at least getting one tick on the board.
Yeah, something's got to give. One of these teams will win Numbani unless we get the fabled Numbani draw. Totally possible. I'd imagine Houston's picking this because they might really want to just keep trying to run a Pharah composition, which can be good. However, with a hit scan on the other side like Jerry, even playing an Ashe or a Widow, even a McCree, although I doubt, it's going to be very hard because Jerry could sit back on the back corner of Numbani in this little hidey hole with the other great player on Boston and Myungbong and kind of just make the Pharah's job very difficult. So it's a really interesting pick from the Houston Outlaws to go to a map that they've not won at all this season. I mean, Boston hasn't won it all in this season either, but usually I'm a bigger fan of playing your best maps. But obviously, Houston has had more time off, more time to practice, more time to game plan. They must have a specific strategy.
Yeah, must be. They're still having Blase play tank and hydration, of course, on the DPS. It's been so funny with all the role swaps and just everybody playing everything, it seems. I actually love it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm all for players just flexing onto different roles. Let's talk real quick, Hex, about fastest maps. We got the fastest map leaderboard presented by Xfinity here. Let's have a look at Numbani, who has completed this map fastest. Okay, surprise, surprise, Dragons. It was actually against the Spark with a 4-minute and 26-second time bank. That is absurd. But you can see Spark there obviously in the third place as well against the Dragons with 4:16, which is equally as just ridiculous. Fusion Gladiators, Valiant Shock. There's a lot of almost upsets there. Valiant completing it over Shock with 4:12.
Yeah.
Numbani's a very interesting map where point 2 just doesn't exist, and if you get a good snowball on that point, and then a third point's just kind of a dream as well, right?
And the interesting thing is, it just blew my mind, these are the 2020 records, right? Because I could see Valiant over Shock maybe, you know, Season 1 when Shock weren't at their final form, but the Valiant rolling over Shock in 2020. So yeah, that's the best way you can complete Numbani. Obviously, as you mentioned, neither of these teams on that leaderboard because neither of these teams has won this map. Although the fastest roll-through doesn't always mean that you're going to win the map. Usually it does, though. Let's take a look at the compositions defense first because they are definitely not going to be changing, and it looks like Fusions will stay on the Roadhog and Jerry long-range hit scan. So if Houston does have designs of trying to run this Pharah into it, it's going to be Hydration versus Jerry again. We'll see how that ends up working out. I mean, I just worry that Houston might lack the adaptability to change up if it's not getting what you want done. And thus far, granted its control, Hydration has been outclassed by the hit scan player of the Boston Uprising.
You see Colorhex just chilling in the tree there, just sitting down, just kind of hiding away. I do like the Ana versus the Hog kind of matchups. It's been very fun to play as Ana recently, just because there's so many small things you can do to just make the Hog's life miserable when he gets hooked in, sleep in, nade him, etc, etc. It can normally be cleansed with a Zarya bubble, but not quite the case this time around with, of course, with the Divas. You're very much just looking for the defense matrix to absorb all that damage. Well, the high ground has been taken by Outlaws already, as Jerry is forced out here. Not a good start whatsoever. Blaze's in a little bit of trouble, but Dante is right there with him to take out Fusions, who was caught a little bit unawares. Another problem here with running the Hog Hex, of course, is the fact that you don't really have a lot of mobility. And Outlaws, they're just going to cap point A as quick as that.
It was a perfect rotation from the Houston Outlaws. A late Bob's going to come and not even touch the point. But what the Outlaws did was great. You always want to send your Pharah to that left side. Maybe if they're all sitting staircase, you can get a lot of splash damage. But then they further rotate, use the architecture to hide behind the wall. That forces Jerry to try to find a different angle, opens him up to the hook. He gets pulled off a high ground, has to use cooldowns. They pressure out Jerry. That leaves Hydration wide open. And just like that, Hydration goes down. But it was just a wonderful rotation from the Houston Outlaws.
Yeah, that was a really nice positioning from Colorhex. He was up on the high ground, so as soon as Jerry hits the Pharah in the body, it was very easy for them for Colorhex to follow that up. Pulse Bomb's available for each Tracer. Looks like they're trying to hunt down Jerry, but Jerry takes out Hydration. Pulse Bomb thrown out by Dante, but the same for Colorhex. They both find kills, but a more valuable one on Repel there. DXA also pops the wings, but actually used the Resurrection earlier on to res Hydration, so Boston Uprising in a very good position to hold this first corner.
Yeah, you're right. It's the value kills. There's kills and then there's better kills. Killing the Ana, obviously, in this competition is enormous because Jexay has to make a kind of Sophie's choice decision. Do I keep hydration alive and stay in the sky, or do I try to support the ground because there's no other supports around? Nice peel there. The Matrix going to keep the Boston Uprising Hog alive. Fusion's anti-Fusion's. Oh,
yeah, there you go. You see, that's the problem and the Zarya, right? Because you can't actually cleanse that. You're hoping just to eat them as the D.Va. Of course, the D.Va controls the high ground as well, a little bit more than the Zarya can. Self-destruct gets launched in towards that giant tunnel, and a good boot by Hydration, trying to force people back into the self-destruct. Didn't quite end up finding kills, but Meko's been able to chase up and actually force Punk to use a self-destruct of his own. And now this is where the Houston Outlaws can thrive, Hex, with far on the high ground.
Yeah, you would hope so, and Boston is going to have a really tough spot. I mean, Jerry's going to have almost impossible time getting a good angle if Hydration plays this properly. He should just be sitting above their heads waiting for a good barrage to be able to come in. At the moment that Punk gets out of position, the barrage comes in, Jerry goes down.
Yeah, he does end up getting slept, and a beautiful pulse bomb eat as well by Meko to save Hydration. Unfortunately, he does get taken out by Color Hex, but the Outlaws doing some dirty work in the backline there. Dante taking the fusions down with a pulse bomb and even taking out Byung too. Oh, it's so beautiful seeing Dante back on the Tracer. The bomb is going to get launched onto the point, but another beautiful thing about Hog Hex, he's got the whole Hog pushing everybody away. It's like Sigma, the way you can force people off of points in order to find the cap. That's exactly what happened there, and the Outlaws now on that last push.
Well, the second half of Numbani's second is very difficult for your hit scan to get the right angle on the far. It was almost a compositional loss at that point. Now, as things open up a little bit, Boston's going to give up a lot of ground. They don't want to play small corridors, but towards the end of this map, it gets wide open. So Jerry's going to be able to sit closer to spawn with maybe a damage boost and get much better angles on Hydration.
Dante's just trying to fire him up that pulse bomb. They're looking for a nade here, potentially on Fusions, to get a pulse bomb kill onto him, or just pulse in the backline, of course, and then hopefully following it up. Hydration still taking a bit of damage, and Blase managed to find a hook. Dante's pulse bomb goes a little bit wide, but he's still in the backline, causing absolute chaos. Luckily, Myeonbong's getting healed up by Halo, end up popping the Valkyrie, and Meko ends up going down. Self-destruct kills Myeonbong though, and Jerry on the backline still finally dealt with Dante, but is it going to be enough? Hydration's taken care with as well, and Jerry is just absolutely popping off. A nano boost onto the whole hog, forcing everybody all the way back, and it's Jerry versus the world. Now his Bob has come in to help, and a bio grenade in the front, taking care of Blase, and Jerry just carrying that last point defense with the help of Punk.
The kill on the far was absolutely enormous. It's nice to be able to get the Tracer, but, you know, as a Tracer player, I know I die to Ashe one-shots pretty consistently if you get him in the dome. And, yeah, I think if he really thought about it, he'd maybe go back and hold on to that Bob ultimate. But when he threw it out, there were still 3 people alive. They just got cleaned up before Bob got there. It's fine. I'm totally fine with the panic Bob that had to happen. And this is a good spot for Boston to be able to hold. If things go all the way bad, they're going to have self-destructs. And Houston kind of has to drive push this. They don't really have a ton of ultimates to go. Damage ultimate's about to come online for Houston.
Yeah, I'd be pretty scared right now if I was the Uprising. If Hydration gets a good barrage off here, it could be all over, although it's fairly tricky to do so. It's going to require a lot of pocketing. Blase ends up going down. Oh, and
That's
Hydration too. Just the coach gun kill. Why not?
Coach gun to
with Hydration. Yeah, damage boost as well, mind you, so it does a little bit extra damage. But the Uprising still holding on to this point.
It's one of those kill feeds you don't see too often, like when a Sleep Dart gets a kill. You're just a little surprised. I don't see Coach Gun Farah kills too often.
Yeah, especially on exactly on the far is pretty scary. But like you mentioned before, Hex, Jerry has so much room to work with. Yeah. He's only really got to worry about Dante, but like I mentioned on the previous map, because you've got 2 main healers, like Ana and Halo can just pump Jerry full of heals. If he's getting dove on, that's a lot of healing. Even the bio grenade as well can be committed. Pulsar gets thrown into near the spawn. Myeonbong missed the sleep dart, but it didn't matter in the end. Luckily though, Blase managed to find a hook and a kill onto Color Hex. Defensive spawns, though, are normally pretty good. Self-destruct launch out and kills Jexay on the side, so now Hydration's just has to play safe. It feels like Outlaws just want to go for a reset, especially with not only Fusions, but Jerry using their ults as well. So this is a fairly easy decision, I think. Yeah, Meko dead. This is a reset for the Outlaws.
Well, I guess that's why Jerry just throws in Bob whenever, because he had another Bob for this fight. That's ridiculous. Houston is banking on getting combinations up now. They've been smart in holding on to their ultimates. So now, both support ultimates up, although they do use a early Valkyrie, but
Jerry
they're
was
getting
slept.
some damage done.
Yeah, Jerry was slept there on the side. Repel managed to land a miracle sleep dart onto the left. And now you can see Blase just running everybody down. You see Punk almost got ejected from his mech almost instantly. That whole hog and close quarter situation is a nightmare to deal with. A nano boost onto hydration, but he wasn't full HP because he was actually naded, but it doesn't matter in the end because Meko, with a massive self-destruct, kills off both supports. 40 seconds remain for the Outlaws. The Uprising spawns are good, but it's not going to matter. That was almost perfect for the Uprising. Myungbong landed a beautiful bio grenade. The nano boost went on to hydration, but because he was anti-naded, he didn't receive the initial heal from the nano boost and only had the damage amp and the damage resistance. But they managed to take him out along with both supports. Meko did so much work in that fight, throwing that self-destruct in. They managed to cap with a bit of time in their bank as well, Hex, 37 seconds. Pretty respectable for Numbani last, regardless of the fastest caps ever in the 2020 season. Like, 37 seconds, not too bad whatsoever.
I think it was an accidental bait because hydration was in no man's land and he was all alone. You mentioned the anti. He looked like he was dead. There was a diva going after. There were several people going after him. The nano helps to mitigate some of the damage, but it also gets all of Boston out of their hidey holes, which are the back corners of your spawn where you want to be as Hitscan, as Anna. They're out there seeing the free Pharah kill in the sky, and they get boomed by a self-destruct. I think an accidental bait just happened for the Houston Outlaws, and it pretty much won them that fight. When both supports die, it's just over. Like, yeah, you killed Jerry, it doesn't matter. The Meko self-destruct killing both supports means that this was just a matter of time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Man, that was pretty disgusting.
Yeah, but Dante, he has to be pressuring Jerry. I mean, if you go back to Control, that was the biggest issue as well. Not able to pressure Jerry, did a much better job.
Okay, something a little bit different here for the Uprising now. Just going dive tanks with the Winston. Okay, still against hydration, of course, so it's going to be up to Jerry to subdue him as much as possible. Fusion just getting a little bit of information.
Yeah, your aggression is going to be based on the Winston Tracer dive. Diva is probably not going to go with this dive because you need the peel. And then Jerry's going to try to clean up from a distance.
Oh, he's in the back line.
Yeah.
That's some Sulky Hog if I've ever seen it. Oh, Halo. He didn't see what was coming. Hydration on the top side too with Dante takes out Jerry with ease. They were trying to go coast there to make sure Jerry could get a nice angle on hydration, but nope, they didn't expect Blase sneaking around the high ground.
I mean, you really should, right? Like, Hogs are kind of just... He's the most flanking tank of them all, the flank tank Hog. Let's see what Boston... Like, they really need to be able to get into the back corner.
Look at him. He's just crouching in the stairwell. Of course, he's waiting for the dive onto the high ground as well, so he can hook them across and force abilities out from Uprising 2. Fusions is playing this one so scared, Hex.
Watching your back.
Yeah, I mean, it's very tough to dive here because Boston needs to either take Main Street to get in a position to dive. The dive doesn't come in for Fusions. He gets nanoed, looking for a target, though.
Yeah, he got booted by Meko and actually got sent down for low ground. He's got jump off cooldown now, but that nano was literally just a claim point on space on point. Jerry ends up falling to Dante, the exact thing you wanted to see happen. Dante camping the health back as well, so Myungbong couldn't touch it. And that will be a nice little defense from the Houston Outlaws. And would you look at the ults coming online? I mean, Uprising, they wanted to get Fusions up onto high ground, maybe earn himself a Primal Rage with the nano boost, but it just didn't happen. He got booped off by Meko, and they only managed to claim space on point, and then Dante could just walk to the backline and do what Dante does best, kill people.
It's just very hard to find a target as Winston in this kind of composition. You're not going to get the Fair or the Mercy because the escapes are there and they're playing super far back. If you jump the Ana, you better not get antied or slept right there. You're not jumping Roadhog. You're like, and there's just no targets for you to properly dive here. Your best target is trying to go for an Ana in the back, but that's going to take 2 dives. You have to dive to high ground, wait for cooldowns, dive again, and Fusions goes down on Roadhog.
Yeah, bye-bye Fusions. That's a lot of damage. Blase nanoed, I believe, and just a hook and a shot straight into Fusions, and you're going to fall pretty quickly. Only 2 ults used. Dante uses Pulse Bomb too, and Hex, well, guess how much time we have left? We got a minute.
Yeah. This is just about the last fight here. I mean, I think you roll in with maybe a preemptive Valkyrie to keep people alive through some of this. The Nano is still so far away right now because these fights have gone that bad for the Boston Uprising that Myeongbong hasn't been able to get it in there. A Bob to put pressure on the point would be nice, maybe there, yep, so that he still has angle in that corner.
Oh my goodness, I thought Bob just went over the edge there. Hydration does end up going down, but Jexay, like you mentioned before, was able to pop the wings in order to get the res. And Meko was even bodyguarding him. He was just setting himself up straight on top of the Mercy to make sure the resurrection didn't get interrupted. Self-destruct gets launched in once more, and now it's already up to Punk to try and do something. He does get Nano to manages to keep himself alive and forcing people off the high ground, but Hydration is more than safe to do basically whatever he chooses. Dante and Blase actually end up going down, however, to Punk and Fusions, and now they can finally put themselves on the point. Punk sends out Self-destruct to force Hydration and Jexay away from the rest of the team. And Boston Uprising eventually end up getting that cap, but that was a lot invested in that fight. Luckily, Meko is going to... Oh no, he doesn't get forward spawn. Unfortunately, he gets back spawn. So now Boston Uprising are actually going to be able to push up a little bit more aggressively here, knowing that information.
Should be able to take some space. It was a really nice play from Boston to be nanoing Punk there. He's able to take the high ground, and then it pushes the Pharaoh Mercy away. I think that Dante was out of all cooldowns because he just took all of the Diva spam to the face and ended up dying in that. And then it's a really nice zoning self-destruct to pop it around the corner. There's no other way for the Pharaoh and Mercy to be able to recontest, so Boston had to win that fight. It was their last fight on first point. They used everything to do so. But, you know, Houston used a lot too. Here comes a Nano from Houston. Nano bar.
Nano, beautiful sleep! Oh, but he gets woken up mid-air, so Jerry ends up going down. What a sleep from Myeongbong, though. My word. That's the ones that you want to hit. Unfortunately, Jerry falls, so the Uprising not in a good situation. However, they do trade it with Meko, and it does look like they're just going to wait this one out to make sure Jerry can get back in the fight. Halo doesn't want to burn res on a basically one first engagement here. Houston Outlaws having to play back now.
I'm going to pop some hyperbole and superlatives here. I think Myeongbong is the best mid-air sleep dart Ana that we have in the game. Watching some of his tape, he hits Mercies, he hits Winstons. Anyone who's in the air, he has that trajectory figured out, and you see it right there.
Hydration's dead. Jexay to follow as well. Nano boost onto Punk once more, just really aiding that damage in the Sky Hex, taking down the Pharaoh Mercy duo with the help of Jerry. And now the Uprising capping this second point. Remember, second point doesn't exist. Just
second point's a
your
gimmick
memory
for the offense.
It is a gimmick. It's a nice scenic tour through Numbani. That's about it. 2 minutes and 25 seconds though on the clock now for the Uprising. They've got to watch out here for the Nano Barrage from Hydration, or they just Nano Blase if he does manage to get a hook, or gets hooked in, to be fair, as well. It just basically, it's a hog delivery system at the end of the day. If you don't get naded, that Nano Boost is going to do a whole lot of work for your hog once he gets chained in to the enemy team.
Yeah, so you're going to see Punk just really try to hold on to Defense Matrix. They have to know that the barrage timing is about to pop off. Gets demeched though.
Yeah, Blase landed a hook. He got nanoed, Punk's dead. And that'll be the end of that. Nice little bio grenade on the exit there. A little bit of free ult charge there for Myeongbong, but that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, you talk so much about like the Zarya, how it's a great cleanse. I think the reason you run Diva, well, not only because it's Numbani and you need high ground, but it's the preemptive cleanse. If the nade doesn't hit, you don't need to cleanse. Like, that's what you're really banking on, is that the defense matrix is going to shut down a lot of Ana's utility there. Wasn't able to get that one going. Pretty even on ults here, Boston and Houston. Bob comes in first.
Oh, there's the barrage. Hydration does get slept, but Jerry already falls, so that should be about it, especially with Jexay popping the Valkyrie, is going to be able to get a free resurrection. Even gets matrixed for it too. Jerry does get rezzed, however, and they do send Punk in once more with the nano boost. He claims the high ground with the self-destruct in hand as well, and manages to chase down Meko. But, I mean, is Punk going to be able to get anything more done? He is now just sitting on the payload. Outlaws are going to be able to recontest this Hex. But the problem I see right now is that they're running with Blase on the flank once more. They're going to have to pay attention to two different directions. If Myeongbong gets hooked, that could be all over for this push for the Uprising.
Well, the Uprising are going to have self-destruct too. It's a great map for it, and it's a great anti-Pharah tool. Blase down to his opposing number.
Color Hex is just 2v1ing on the side. Jexay had to join the rest of his team who were just getting demolished on the point. And just a couple of meters away from getting capped. A pulse bomb on the side of the wall. Not where you wanted to land it, but hey, it forces Repel back. Color Hex finally finishes him off. And Nano Boost onto Meko though will saw the point out for a little bit longer. As Blase ends up getting a hook in and still manages to stay alive on the point with a breather. Boston Uprising need to be able to touch. The spawn advantage though for the Outlaws is too great. Fusions ends up getting res, but not really a man advantage here, especially with Dante in the back. He throws out the pulse bomb, and Jerry with the 90-degree body shot onto Dante ends up taking him out. Uprising need to be able to touch the point. They're on it, but the Outlaws are still fighting somehow. Blase eventually gets taken down, and the point does get capped. But my goodness, that could have looked a very different story. Blase was just able to survive so long on that point with the healing and just the hooks and even the instant kills or just the amount of damage that he can provide. And even the nano boost onto Meko there was able to sustain him long enough on the point for everybody to get a kind of a rotation of spawns. 1 minute in the time bank though versus 1 minute and 30 seconds. We got Boston attacking first yet again.
So on Numbani, that might be the difference between one fight and two. The walk up to first point is very, very long. I'm just so impressed with Myeongbong, and we have been all season. Whenever we talk about Boston, we say there are bright spots, they've got some really good players, and I think this is a meta where he can shine. 10 enemies slept, 6 nano boost assists, 6 bio grenade kills. Like, the numbers he is putting up, the impact he is having on this flex support role cannot be overstated. He is playing so well right now. And I mean, some of those sleeps they didn't even get value out of, but he's still putting the sleep and putting the fear in people. Like, it's crazy the targets he hits on sleeps. It's not just like a hog walking towards him. It's a Pharah in the sky. It's a Pharah a mile away. It's a Tracer who just blinked into him. Like, it's been so impressive. And Boston with a shot to go up 2-0, 1 minute for their offense on the second half of Numbani.
Yeah, Boston Uprising this time around. They're not playing around. Fusion's not playing the Winston. He's going to go straight to the Hog. They know Blaze's on the flank, man. Like, do you see Punk just checking there? He's just peeking his head through the doorway, making sure Blaze isn't just sneaking up behind them. They're still running into Hydration Farah, though. And like you mentioned before, Hex, just hiding around these buildings is just so key for his survival. But it's hard for Jerry to really get a good angle here.
Yeah, I mean, you would love to get Myeongbong in a good place where that he can heal and kind of pocket Punk
Dante
and
slept.
do the same push you did last time.
Are you kidding me? Again? Myeongbong was
filthy.
waiting there too. I saw him in just his little outline. Jerry's going to be able to take the high ground now. Hydration trying to force him off. He does a good job of it, but Dante, being on Tracer, luckily can get back to the fight rather quickly. Fusions ends up falling too with all the assists in the world there with Hydration securing the elimination. Overtime has been triggered as Punk ends up demeching on the point. Yeah,
they got to get someone on the point
all
now.
too long. Jerry manages to kill Hydration, but is it going to be enough? Both tanks still alive, and Jerry, unfortunately, ending his own life there. Resurrection onto Myeongbong. Wasn't going to be all too much, and yeah, this should just be it now for the Outlaws. No 33% check mark for the Uprising. They're looking for a draw. It's very possible, Hex. Neither of these teams have won Numbani in 2020, so they could continue that trend by finding themselves a draw. But with 1 minute and 37 seconds and how the Outlaws took it last time around, it looks almost inevitable for the Outlaws to take this 33% here.
Maybe, but the Outlaws kind of do run a slower composition with the Pharah and the Mercy, trying to just get the poke damage, trying to bully out supports in the backline. So I can see a world in which Houston takes their time, maybe gets a single kill, but then it gets resurrected. So you would think that Houston has 2 good shots at this, but fights on Numbani can be prolonged. Jerry did his best, but, you know, Dynamite hurts.
Yeah. It was the duel. You saw him throw out the dynamite there to try and force the Tracer to recall or just to back off completely, but unfortunately he ended up tagging himself, and he was not going to be able to get Mega Pack in time. That just aided Dante in securing the kill. Or he didn't even secure the kill because, well, yeah, it came up as just Jerry owning himself, unfortunately. Well, there we go. 1 minute and 37 seconds.
The rare self-burn. Yeah, those hurt the most.
They do, yeah. It's unfortunate. God, yeah. This damage-boosted dynamite is just so disgusting. Does it get any damage, though? They must know it's there. Yeah, there you go. And, oh! It hit repel. Whoops-daisy. Only a little bit of burn damage, but Jerry does get about 10% ult charge for that, so it's not too bad at all.
All right, so Houston, you would have to imagine that Houston's going to try to put the Pharah Mercy on coast. They do a
What?
beautiful
Are
ult, though.
you kidding me?
You can't res that. Oh, did they res it? Oh,
no,
he got him.
He reses it, cast a curse. Oh, and Jerry gets up taking a nap as well. They can't actually hook him down, but they're actually looking for Mumbong, who's now on the floor. They're paying attention to him and trying to keep him alive, and I mean, Jerry's in a little bit of trouble. I say that, he's going to be able to look after himself. Hydration's still on coast, is now up on the high ground. This is exactly where they want him to be. Fusions gets naded and instantly taken down, and Outlaws have put themselves on the point. They only need 33%, and Blase is taking care of Punk as well. Dante just needs this 1v1, but doesn't manage to find it. Color Hex finds the Mega Pack, but Dante's still doing a fair bit of work, taking care of Fusions. Mecha gets res, gets back in the mech as well, and Outlaws, they're looking to make this a 1-to-1. Color Hex forced the recall as well. He ends up going down, and that will be it. The Outlaws, they take Nambani, find their first win on the map as well in this season, and tie the series up one apiece.
I mean, that gutsy res right there, because I'm pretty sure that the body of the Pharah landed on the high ground, or at least that kind of high ground weird pillar that's right there. But a really nice angle taken from, I believe it was Jexay, to get that resurrection in there, and then the pressure comes in from both angles. Houston able to clean it up afterwards. Tied up 1-to-1, but I think a lot closer than a lot of people imagine. Boston has shown signs of life, and I know that's kind of a phrase you're tired of hearing if you're a Boston fan, but they're able to play their best players on their best heroes when you talk about Myungbong's Ana and Jerry's long-range hit scan. So I definitely give them a chance. Tied up 1-1, and Houston has kind of shown their cards already. It looks like Houston just wants to run a Pharah Mercy composition.
Yeah, if they keep this roster in the way it is currently, it is looking like another Pharah game. Of course, it does depend on the maps too. Some maps obviously a lot harder to play Pharah on.
Well, Boston gets
Loses
a pick next map
as
too.
well. Yeah, exactly. So we'll have to wait and see where they want to go. We're going to jump to a quick break though, guys. Do not go anywhere. We'll be back with map number 3.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Pringles Wavy. Big crunch, big flavor.
after the ultimate sleepover in that last round on Numbani. We are 1-1 apiece. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your game break presented by Cheese It Grooves. And we've got to talk about Custer Houston really believing and sticking with that Pharah, even though it might have lost them the first map.
Yeah. Talk about the sleepover. Myunbong's doing that. He needs a special mention right now. He is sleeping the world. There was a clip on Reddit of him sleeping a Widow just last night, and he's absolutely ridiculous. It's crazy how good he is, even on a team like Boston who has been struggling this season. But the elephant in the room has to be the Houston Outlaws playing the Pharah, something that I don't think many people expected to come out during this meta. I think we saw in map 1, it becomes really hard to get value out of it, especially when you have Punk playing that Diva, Jerry on that damage boosted Ashe. It feels like if Hydration ever gets caught in the open, he's just, it's just a shooting gallery at this point. They even forced it on this control center, and I was really confused on why they seem to be, completely forcing this. We don't know how their scrims have been, why they're not playing the other forms of the meta, but it seems like something that they're going to commit because we saw it even more in map 2.
Yeah, they did carry on playing the Pharah on map 2 as well. I just want to say as well on Control Center, like I got some Tailspin, like 2016 flashbacks when I saw Pharah on Control Center. So I was like, whoa, they're really going back in time. But yes, we went on to Numbani, and this is where the Houston Outlaws really seem to come alive. I think that Dante did a fantastic job on that Tracer, really unlocking the attack for the Houston Outlaws. He set up these winning moments for the Outlaws, managing to make space for Hydration on that Pharah as well. He was not under pressure as much as he was on Lijiang Tower. But that said, I mean, Numbani was incredibly even. It was back and forth. As you mentioned, Myunbong had some really clutch sleep darts, both in overtime and in regular time. And then Jerry on this Ashe as well, combining with Halo on the Mercy damage booster, of course. It really seems like the Boston Uprising, this is a meta that's working for them, is my word choice here. It's working for them because they can put their eggs in the Jerry basket, being damage boosted by the Mercy, as well as Punk on that Diva as well, managing to come in clutch at times. So it's a very competitive match so far, and a bit more even than we perhaps expected going into it.
We've got to talk about Hogs as well, because we have piggy action, hooks aplenty, and it is time for Crunch Time, presented by Cheese It Grew. So let's talk pigs.
Yes, let's talk pigs indeed. I mean, for the majority of viewers, they're like, what the hell is going on? Like, why is Roadhog here? Okay, because we've barely seen Roadhog this entire season. And if you take a look at the stats, yes, Blase is having a bit of a better performance. You can see the final blow 7.1 over Fusion's 5.6 final blows per 10 minutes. Blase is sort of edging it out in that Roadhog head-to-head. But what is the actual place of Roadhog in this meta? Well, because the barriers were so drastically reduced in power going into this playoff patch, Roadhog sort of acts as a nuisance character, being able to hook people out of their place and being this like big boss character that just has so much health and being able to heal himself. Obviously, Roadhog becomes something a problem that you have to deal with. And with that in mind, he sort of pseudo makes space for the rest of his damage players, and that's what we saw Fusion do for the side of Jerry. You saw Fusion was all around in the Houston backline and making space for Jerry on that Ashe, and also we've seen Blase make space for Hydration on that Pharah.
I do want to hit that. Sorry, let me just jump in here real quick, Frankie. I think it's a really interesting style because I actually think the stats are leaning more towards Blase just off of the Pharah pick from Hydration. Because it feels like the Boston Uprising are having to do a lot more to deal with this Pharah, it's forcing Fusions to play more aggressively and on his own, setting up that front line, while Blase's more free to flank and sort of not take as much space for himself. So I think that's what you're seeing in the stats. Very different styles of Roadhog coming into this meta.
Well, we'll see if we get even more piggy time coming up shortly, because we've got no substitutions, so I imagine we're going to see at least one hog as we head to Voskai Industries with Jaws and Hex.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez It Grooves. Deep flavor, deep crunch. It's a mind crunch. The Overwatch League is brought to you by HyperX. Unleash your style, unleash your fury with HyperX Fury Memory. And by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Color Hex lobs out the Blizzard. Transcendent's going to be expiring in that back line, and a very nice flick from Color Hex.
달려요.
레이저 세죠.
Klein still gets to build up an additional 35%. Jerry, however, huge picks coming through. Gets rid of both supports in an instant. Meteor Strike comes down, and Meko.
일단 유지.
안에 가서 아무 데나 던져도 맞을 것 같아.
대박 단테.
Hey guys, welcome back. Voskai Industries is the next map in the series. And I was just, as I always do, just reading a little bit of the lobby chat. And Color Hex is kind of begging the Houston Outlaws to stop hooking him and killing him. He said please, so we'll see if that does end up changing anything about the game plan going in. It does look like Outlaws are going to stick on Hydration on the DPS and Blase on the Hog. So that does mean we're probably going to see Farah Hex.
It seems very likely. Now, Volsky is an interesting pick. It is Boston's pick, as we're in the playoff format. Loser picks here. Boston is really not that good on assault maps. In fact, they've drawn more assault maps than they've won this year. Their overall assault record, 2-15-3. So I'm seeing the draw. However, this map makes sense if you are going to rely on Jerry and Myungbong to carry this Boston team, which they've shown they can do so far. Volskaya, an excellent map for both Ashe and Ana, so that's where it makes sense for Boston. Tied up 1-1. It is 1-1 in the series, or in the season for these two teams. Week 3 and Week 10 went different ways, so the winner of this one wins the overall series between these teams and moves on. Remember, this is knockouts. There's no lower bracket. You lose, your season is straight up over.
Oh, we've lost Jerry Cam. Please come back, Jerry. Please. Your team needs you to play Ashe extraordinarily well and hopefully get pocketed by Halo. I mean, this is a very interesting map, right, when it comes to the Ashe play and the Ana play, like you said, because on defense, it's sometimes a little easier to play the Farah here. You can hide around the top right-hand side of that ginormous apartment building, I think it is, and stop the people from coming in, or at least punish them for coming in, just firing rockets at the choke point. But on the offense, it's actually quite difficult because Jerry can sit so far back with the damage boost and just pick off the Farah when she tries to come through the choke or when she tries to come over the top. More often than not, I feel we're going to see a little bit of the flanking Farah, maybe off to the left-hand side, you know, over the frozen lake, and then go from there. It's a very interesting map for Farah. I'm excited to see how Hydration's actually going to play this. Of course, they're still going to stick with Blase on the Hog and Meko on the D.Va. Another great tool as well for the D.Va is just to get on the back line. It's going to be up to really Meko, especially on his offense, to stop Jerry from getting a good sightline on Hydration. We'll have to see how Outlaws do on the defense, though. Got Dante on the Tracer once again, and Hydration on the Farah. And it does like, yeah, he's probably just going to hide around here. But double hit scan is a very big possibility here for the Uprising 2. Color Hex jumping out on the Widow. Potentially just wants to go for one shot, though. Yeah, he sees the Farah. Ooh, not quite, but Hydration did take a little bit of damage there.
Yeah, almost got it. Now Color X is going to go to the Tracer to try to pressure the back line to make sure that Repel can't just sit and do whatever he wants. And you're really just looking for any sort of damage boosted Ashe angles you can get. Houston playing pretty far back with this kind of tank lineup. You don't have any shields. So generally this map used to be playing around the corner with shields. Jerry gets a great kill.
Oh, and a perfect follow-up as well from Color Hex. Oh, doesn't quite manage to find the one clip onto Jexa. That was a very, very good position for him to be in. Forced a recall too, but that does get Boston Uprising up to this high ground. This is not something I thought would happen at all. Hydration was not playing around this apartment building, as a Boston Uprising were now able to get into the mini pack room, and now Hydration kind of stuck between a rock and a D.Va at this point. And even Jerry using the coach gun to get to the high ground. Hydration's having the worst time right now, but he is managing to keep himself alive, as well as Jexa too. So just existing is good enough for the time being. Dante, a little less existence now, as Jerry did manage to headshot and one-shot him. And and now they can control this Mega Pack room as well, making sure Repel has to play a little bit more safe. Another beautiful sleep onto Hydration. He gets taken down as well. Jerry and Myungbong just taking over this game.
Yeah, I mean, the Matrix came in to try to prevent that sleep, but Matrix does not last forever. You can't dodge bullets all the time. Able to take that one down in Boston with a slow, methodical push through the right side. Taking out Dante was enormous. It means that your Ana doesn't have to worry about it, that your Ashe doesn't have to worry about it either. Houston is still in here. They're going to commit a nano boost onto the Hog.
And now, and they use Bob too. I think it's worth it at this point. They do end up nanoing Blase as well, so both nanos went onto the Hogs. Fusions with a nice Halt. Well, not a Halt, sorry. I keep calling it a Halt hook because I'm so used to having the Orisa there as well, but it is just the vanilla hooks. Hydration ends up falling too. There'll be a lot of ults used, but the time bank, yeah, that was worth it, I think. Boston Uprising with about 5 minutes now to push on to this second.
Yeah, not a whole lot to use because it was desperation time. You don't want to let a Hog in there and get a couple of kills, and Houston did commit the nano into that. Right now, Boston only has the Pulse Bomb, which can be really good on this map. I would expect Color Hex to go to that right side, blink over the water, try to get to the high ground, and get where the Ana likes to hang out positionally. Dante has designs of getting whoever comes into the door first, as he's flanking on his own Tracer with a Pulse Bomb.
Yeah, they spotted him out though, so he's going to have to back off, and yeah, you see Chex is on the side, making sure Dante doesn't go for the repeat on the left.
Yeah, he wants the Ana.
Pulse Bomb for Kalex? No, doesn't manage to find anything. A lot of ults though for Uprising Hex. Oh! Beautiful hook. Another beautiful Matrix though. Both Divas a little bit worse for wear right now. Fusions unleashes the whole Hog, pushes everybody back from the point, and Blase ends up going down? I didn't think that pushed him far enough, but apparently it did. Fusions gets slept after he managed to hook Meko, but this bomb is going to do a whole bunch of work. Hydration unleashing the barrage. He's getting bathed in the defense matrix, but it wasn't quite good enough. He gets taken down by Myungbong, and Jexay falls as well to a self-destruct. Luckily enough, though, Meko does receive the nano boost, and Dante doing what he does best, flanking on the Tracer, and takes out Halo and forces the Boston Uprising back. That looked like such a good offense from Uprising, but they managed to at least get a tick, Hex, so it wasn't all for naught.
Yeah, Bob was able to get in there and put a lot of pressure on the point. Fusions thought he was going to have the counterpart of Bob, so he walks onto the point, but then Houston is able to nano Meko and able to take down Fusions as he pushed into that. Boston Uprising now with both support ultimates available, but very little else. Again, Color Hex really just wants to get the Ana. From your perspective right now from Fusions, it is top right corner is where that Ana's hanging out. Color Hex wants to blink and get pulse bombs in there to try to take out the Ana, because otherwise she's just pumping in so much healing on the point.
They're still taking this off angle. This map is so defensible because obviously all the high ground. Nice little good Fusions, a headshot, 2, Blase 2 HP. Oh, he gets taken out by Jerry. Punk gets nanoed, takes himself to the skies and manages to gain, again, a lot of space. A Pulse Bomb's thrown out too and takes out Repel. A Resurrection is there, but look at the bodies now on the point for the Uprising. It's going to be hard for Hydration to really do anything. Punk is going to chase him down, with the additional damage from Jerry being laid out. Hydration's going to have to run away. Another nano boost to keep Blase alive, and Hydration, through all the chaos, gets naded and sent to about sub 20 HP, but still managed to take out Jerry. But the Resurrection was good enough to bring him back into the fight, and now Jerry can once again set up in the back line, causing an absolute menace. Hydration dead once more. They do manage to claim 2 ticks. The Boston Uprising in a good spot to take the third as well. Another bomb for Jerry, as Color Hex now just cleaning up every single person that just lands on the point. Even a self-destruct, forcing out 2. Blase doesn't go down to that, but he sure went down to Fusions. They eventually take the second point. I mean, these fights, they're going to be chaotic. They have Diva and Hog, and Hog is just playing on his own. Tracer is playing on his own. Diva's trying to kill the Pharah with the Ashe. There's so many like 1v1s or 2v1s or 1v2s going on at one time. It can be sometimes quite hard to keep track of it all, but as soon as you kind of set Jerry up for success and just make sure he's well protected in the back, as then he can kind of take over the game. And we spoke about it a little bit before, Hex, but Dante's goal in these comps is really to stop Jerry from doing that and actually just distracting him for long enough. But if he has to kind of peel for his backline too, it leads to a whole heap of problems, and that heap of problems is really just Jerry with a damage boost from Halo.
Fusions had a really nice hook too onto Blase, who was nano boosted and whole hogging. but it seems counterintuitive, like you want to get away from that, obviously, but he hooks them so that it interrupts the whole hog and then gets his last shot onto Blase to get his own whole hog. Fusions does, pushes them all off of the point, gets even more percentage. Bob chimes in, helps out a little bit with the push, and Boston able to pick up their first or second point on Volskaya with a little under 2 minutes left. Now this is what we were talking about pregame, as Houston running the Pharah on the offense can be a little bit difficult. You mentioned maybe going over the icy lake on the left side. I think that's good, but Jerry's still going to have the long distance that it's going to be up to Dante to make sure that Jerry can't just sit back and do whatever you want. You want to distract Jerry to make sure that Hydration has room to just come in.
Oh yeah, don't forget guys, you can vote for your 2020 T-Mobile MVP as well. We want to hear who you think is the Overwatch League MVP, and you can use the hashtag as well, hashtag OwlMVP. Shout that out on Twitter and just tag your favorite player that you wish to see holding the MVP trophy.
I voted. It was hard. There were a lot of deserving candidates this year.
Oh, a whole bunch of them. We'll, hope the Outlaws can put up a couple of names. I know there's a lot of Outlaws fans out there, Boston fans too, that I'm sure they'll want to get their name up there as well. Dante ends up going down. I'll stop my little ramble. Might just fire a grenade onto the 2 tanks, but it's not going to mean anything. Hydration, yeah, like I said before, it's going to be a tough time for him to really do anything because Jerry can kind of sit on the background here. Hydration is taken out as Jexe went for the res. As soon as you hear that res going off or the Mercy flying away, she does have a small sound indicator when she does use just to fly towards somebody. So, yeah, Color Hex knew, Jerry knew as well that Hydration was alone. They take him out, and even Blase trying to go on a flank. And a nice little stagger here too onto Meko is going to cost them a little bit in their time bank.
Yeah, Houston decided not to get out. They were just playing stairs with the people that they had remaining, hoping that Boston would not chase them down. And I think that's the right call, because early season Boston was very passive. They weren't going to chase that down, but they make the call to take everyone out. Nice stagger kills, and only 2:30 left. Outlaws don't have any ultimates up. A couple ultimates ready for Boston on their defense, and they're exactly where they want to be, holding high ground, damage boosting Jerry.
Interesting, Jerry's kind of holding the point now, but he can use the coach gun to get back to high ground. Ooh, there goes Hydration. Kalex playing more defensive mode as well. You can see him hanging around, making sure if Outlaws do dive in, he can just punish them for it. Nano whole hog in the front. Fusions ends up going down. Roster's available for Punk, maybe? Yes, he does get back onto the high ground, alive and well. Fusion's Color Hex dead, but Myungbong and Color Hex, Myungbong, sorry, and Punk still fighting on the point. Bob gets launched out as well to play guard for Punk, who's rather low at this current moment in time. Wants to go towards that mega pack or the mini pack. Meko ends up going down, and Jerry's just holding down the fort alone. If it's just him and Myungbong and Punk, I think the Uprising are going to be okay. Hydration still taking a fair bit of damage. A nice little coach gun there to force Blase down for the high ground, but he doesn't quite manage to land it. And he takes down Myungbong too. This is the opening that the Outlaws wanted.
Yeah, I wonder if they can get this resurrection or if it's even available. There's going to be a Valkyrie that comes up, and it does seem like Myungbong's back, but not resurrected.
Oh, no.
Oh, into the drink!
And that's bad. That's very bad. But Fusion ends up going down as well, and now Hydration and Dante can run basically wild. Jerry does take down Hydration, but you've got to look at Dante here. He can just sit on the supports, pretty much. They're not going to be too paying attention for him, as the hog is, of course, dead, and now you can see exactly what he's doing. Hydration jumping up to the high ground with the help of Jexe, and that will be it. Dante takes 2 with him as well. Halo and Jerry didn't stand a chance. I mean, ideally, that's what you want, right? You take down the enemy hog, and then your Tracer can just do whatever she pleases. Of course, you still have to worry about the sleep dart from Myungbong, but you're a little less scared of the hog just hooking you and one-shotting you.
Well, Myungbong had gone down early in that fight, too, and Anna is, you know, one of the older heroes on the game, not going to be super fast back to the point here. So he was definitely operating with absolute impunity there. Houston now has banked up several ultimates. It's the same game for Dante on the offensive Tracer, too, but they're going to nano the Barrow.
Oh, what a beautiful air rocket there from Jerry, and he takes down Halo as well with the barrage. Bob is looking straight at him, but Halo makes short work of him. And now the Outlaws with a perfect position on the point. They nano fusions to try and get a bit of space. Another ultimate eat from Meko there too. Pulse bomb from Color Hex goes wide. he still at least finds a kill onto Hydration, who's in
huge.
no man's land, so this resurrection can't come through. Jerry jumps back onto the creep, and that will be the defense. However, Outlaws still managed to get 2 ticks on this second point Hex.
Yeah, but for all the flack that Color Hex gets, he came back absolutely enormous there with 2 clutch kills. His Pulse Bomb doesn't even need it, although that's, I think, Meko's 3rd or 4th ultimate eaten of the day. But yeah, a very clutch play by Color Hex to come back, get the 2 kills that they need. And, you know, on Assault maps, we mention it all the time, you got to be pretty perfect on the offense. The defender's advantage is enormous. Boston nearing some support ultimates. They also have Punk's self-destruct to slow it down. Outlaws might be pushing in, hoping to just get Boston to use ultimates to even up this economy. They've got plenty of time, but it does seem like Boston will go into the second half of the lead if Houston can even complete.
Dante was in a horrible situation there. Luckily got out by using the recall. Blase finds a kill on some young bong of all people. That must have been a flank hog maneuver. Hydration does fall, but Fusion is going to follow him. So Mercy's a little bit more free to res. Self-destruct as well to make sure they can create that space. Spawn advantage, of course, for the Uprising. So people getting back ASAP if they're not just resurrected like Halo did there to Fusions. That self-destruct does so much work and enables that. And now Uprising with a man up 2. Repel and Hydration are just going to spawn manually with no resurrections available. Looks like a go again for the Outlaws.
Yeah, Color Hex hit another enormous Pulse Bomb. They were able to take down Repel. Repel was nearing his Nano, which he probably would have tried to get off even had he been stuck there. But that is really the key for this defense here, take down Repel. Because again, we talked about this in the control map. Jexa has a lot of priority to be going towards the Pharah and keeping Hydration alive. Otherwise, Jerry's just going to pick him off super easily. So if you take down the other support, your ground army weakens by 10-fold. And Color Hex has done a great job of getting into this opposing Ana. 60 seconds remain. Nano ready. Nano Whole Hog likely coming. What a shot!
Well, that's the push over with.
You just leave.
Jexa
You can't go in.
Yep, 1 bullet to the head. And he ends up going down. And now Jerry can basically do whatever he wants. He's got Bomb too, Hex. And I'm going to be real. This is going to look pretty devastating. If he manages to get full value off this Bob, I mean, if he just plants it in the corner as well, it stops a lot of people from actually just getting on the point. However, Outlaws do have this Nano Barrage available and the Pulse Bomb too. So a lot of tools in their bank. So whether they can actually get them off.
Yeah, you see right now is that Myunbong is looking for the flanking tracer.
Well, they do send the Bob out. Nano Barrage available from Hydration. Dante takes out Color Hex. Still, spawn advantage though. They do not forget. Oh, Hydration! He's stunned. He has to get out of there ASAP. Fusions end up going down with the Blase unleashing the whole hog on the point and pushing everybody away, but Boston Uprising still managed to touch. However, Jerry ended up falling and not quite quick enough. Color Hex dashed onto the point, but it was a fraction of a second too late. And the Outlaws, they managed to complete with it.
And you would love to get that into overtime.
Oh, yeah, very
so
small amount of time. 2 minutes and 54 though for the Uprising. It's looking good. And I think, did I say this during rehearsals the other day, Hex? But you know they've forgone all their wins earlier on in the season. They're just saving their wins up for now and then using their wins in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Perfect strategy, by the way.
We had a nice little musing that Boston was running the ultimate strat of just saving your victories for when it matters. If every team is going to get a shot at the playoffs, which every team has right now, though, you know, not the ideal situation for Boston, they're just saving them for the playoffs, keeping those wins in your pocket.
Yeah, just save the wins, man. That's what you got to do.
Yeah, I mean,
the San Francisco Shock and Philly, what have they done? They've used all their wins so early.
So foolish of San Francisco to win early. Like, I don't get it.
I know. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. Okay, let's have a look.
Yeah, neither of us are going for
1 minute
coaching positions in the Overwatch League.
Yeah, just save the... Guys, we're saving the wins. We're saving them up for playoffs. Don't worry. Don't worry. We've only won a couple during the regular season. We're good. Right, back to reality, X. Come on now. Let's be serious. 1 minute in the time bank for the Outlaws.
Defend objective A.
Opportunity. Your support has arrived.
Hydration, similar rollout to what we saw in their first offense, but you can see the mile away here that Hydration has to play at until they do something to make Jerry not look at him.
It takes so long for the setup as well. So yeah,
I mean, it's a single push.
Blase. Oh no, he's been spotted. Not quite Splinter Cell this time around. Oh, hydration ends up going down. The dynamite is good. The defense matrix from Meko just secured that resurrection onto hydration. Absolutely massive. And now Jerry's, look how scared he's playing. He has to deal with Dante. Mobrook's still going to be alive, luckily enough. The sleep dart's been used, but they managed to get both Jexay and hydration. 6 seconds remains. Outlaws now switching on to speedy heroes, as Lucio for Jexay is going to be able to get back to the point ASAP, but Dante falls. Kalhex burning the recall, but it's not going to matter. Blase again an inch away from touching the point, and Houston Outlaws don't manage to touch in time, don't cause OT, not even a tick on the board. And the Uprising have 2 minutes and 54 seconds to claim at 33% and put themselves in match point position. And I want to reiterate it, Hex. This is the time for the Boston Uprising to pop off. There is no lower bracket here. Outlaws, they're 2 maps away from going home. And the Boston Uprising are setting themselves up perfectly from to go to the next round.
Yeah, 3 minutes, and again, it's just, they took out the supports of the Houston Outlaws early in that fight, which meant that the Dynamite was able to actually kill Dante because there was no healing. They zoned him out of the packs. The shots that Jerry is hitting, yes, they're getting resurrected, but forcing out those resurrections, making the Mercy put themselves in a terrible spot. It's been good peels so far, but you're right. Like, Boston is looking to equal their draw amount on Assault maps for this season. Again, Boston, 2 wins, 3 draws on Assault, I think like 15 losses. We don't talk about that right now. That's the regular season. We're past it. Boston in a great spot. They cannot lose this map any longer. They can only win or draw. And I think you still just look for the same stuff. Color Hex looking for Repel, Jerry looking for Hydration. And you try to get one of those picks, and you got about 3 attempts to do it.
The Boston Uprising rising again. How do you uprise? How do you rise up an uprising? I don't know. Well, it's happening. Oh, and that's the pick. Jexay's going to be able to at least get the res, maybe. Depends where Repel is, and Hydration will have to play rather scared, and it doesn't look like they're going to be able to get it off. No, Repel has only just spawned, and he's spawning all the way back on second point. Oh, and it's going to be a pause. Oh. No.
Tactical
pause?
Are you
kidding me?
Maybe Repel died because of some sort of tech issue. I don't know. I did not even see where Repel died. But yeah, this one, of all the pauses we've had, this one I think hurts the most.
Yeah, Fusion's face says it all. Just well, he's just he's laughing about it now, but he was very straight face. It's like, oh, okay, well, we're in another pause. Oh, it doesn't like everybody's ready. Okay,
back.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank goodness for that. I didn't want to jump into another.
Well, that's good. I wanted to catch my breath
pause.
anyway. That's thank you for the pause, guys.
Thank you.
All right, we're getting back into it. Repel just trying to get back here. It is a 6v5 for Boston.
Okay. 6v5. And as well, because Uprising positioning, Hex, Repel's going to have a tough time actually getting back. It's going to be up to Dante to almost escort him and just control this space, so he's going to have a nice angle. A nice hook onto Meko is going to de-mech him. And Hydration, he's trying to get something done. He does manage to do it, but it doesn't matter because Myungbong is finding the kills. That's going to be it. Boston Uprising, they're going to be able to claim the first point of Voskaya and match point as well in the series. Outlaws, after that brief pause too, felt like it was almost killing the momentum in some ways, right? But they can still come back. It's going to be their map pick as well going into the next one. But the Boston Uprising looking to seal the deal.
I've seen what the internet had called this series coming into it, and I completely ignored it because I don't care what you think of teams. Going into the playoffs is a whole new animal. This is literally the worst ranked team we have in NA, Boston with 2 wins, and they look good right now. Granted, it's the Houston Outlaws, but I think people always expect Houston to beat teams lower than them. They've had their own struggles, but right now, when you think about the meta, or at least this game's meta, it plays right into Boston hands. Their best players get to play their best heroes, and you know, beyond all the praise we've given to the Ana and Ashe, Punk's Diva has been absolutely everywhere. He's cleaning up kills. He's making space. Like, Boston has picked the right time to come alive, Jack.
It's a brand new patch and it's a brand new Boston. They're on match point. We're going to jump to a quick break. It's Outlaws' turn to choose a map. We'll see in a bit.
Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network, T-Mobile. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Most memorable moment of 2020 is when we beat Houston Outlaws. It was my debut match and it was the match that helped me be known in the league. I can never forget the moment my fans were chanting my name.
Well, I could always use more Jerry in my life, and yeah, his highlight of the year was that win against the Outlaws, that 7-map series at the Washington homestand, and everybody, of course, was just cheering Jerry too. I think that would be my favorite as well if the crowd was still cheering my name after that grueling series. Where are we at now, Hex? Well, Boston Uprising. Well, yeah, match point. Outlaws, they're not looking so hot. I mean, Hydration is doing a lot of work on the Farah, but the problem is you're going against Myeonbong, who's on fire, and also Jerry with the damage boost. Like, it's a very, very tough ask. Outlaws have chosen to go to Dorado as well.
I mean, Dorado would make a little bit of sense because you can definitely still run the Farah here. There is eventually going to be a substitution popping up on your screen too, that Linkser is going to come in just to try to match that long-range hit scan of Jerry, because while Dorado can be very good for a Farah and Mercy, on offense especially, it is really good for long-range hit scan. Widow has spots that are just designed for Widow. You think about first point archway on defense, the really long sight lines on Dorado until you get into that kind of claustrophobic feel that is last point of Dorado. Both these teams with a 1-2 record, so I don't think that's really playing into it. It's mostly, I think, a compositional pick, but with Linkser coming in, you have to expect an Ashe or a Widow mirror duel here. And Houston, season on the line, your map pick, Dorado. Let's go.
Oh, man. It's a lot of weight on Linkser's shoulders, too. Let's put this into perspective. I mean, he's coming in when the enemy team is a match point, like 2 maps up currently. That's a lot of weight on your shoulders, especially if you're the hit scan, too, right? I mean, at the end of the day, if you're on fire as a hit scan, you're hitting every single shot, you're in the groove, and yeah, like you said, coming in cold, too. Like, of course, you've had warm-ups and whatnot, but playing an official is not the same. Exactly, it's not the same. So Linkser has to really come out the gate swinging. We have Boston on the defense first, and we're going to see, no, surprise, surprise, same old, same old. No fusion on the Winston. You can play Winston here, but Fusion's Hog has been looking pretty good. And like you said, Punk's Diva too has just been stellar. Punk has said
been very
avoid
good.
fusions, hog one trick, free SR.
I just want to revisit Linkser coming in without warm-ups too, because of all the roles and players I talk to, it is generally the Widow players and Ashe players by extension who say, I need a map. I need a map to warm up to get into game shape. I mean, I'd spoken to Taimu about this. I've spoken to many of the Widow makers that we have in this league, and they say it's probably the hardest hero to come in and just be ready on. So we'll see if Linkser can step up to the plate. Houston Outlaws looking to extend this series, extend their Overwatch League 2020 season.
Oh, they knew Linkser was going for that grapple too. Rather normal grapple spot though, to be fair. Feels like they're just going to get off the high ground. They don't really want to mess with hydration. Plus, the concussion blast from the far as well is not to be underestimated, especially when you have a hog on your side too. Concussion blast into a hook, normally an instant death.
Yeah, I mean, hook into headshot can be very nice too. Hydration is playing very far back here. It's wrapped all the way around.
On the other side
Yeah,
of the
so
map.
now
He does have to be careful here because there's obviously 2 hit scans in the back line in Myeongbong and Jerry that can shoot at him. Myeongbong's already got 50% towards the Nano. A biogrenade onto the front line of the Uprising. Fusion and Punk. And it will be Fusion that ends up going down first to Linkser. And Blase just the melee Roadhog now against Color Hex, but Repel finishing him off with a nade. Outlaws off to a good start. Setting up Linkser for success is obviously quite key, and that will be first point done with Halo dead.
Yeah,
no point in recontesting here.
I think Roadhog's melee should do more than everyone else's. Like, if you compare them, Roadhog has this giant hook. Moira has fingernails. So I think it should do more damage, but, you know, who am I to dictate the lore?
Okay, so why does Doomfist melee with the non-robotic fist?
He should have given the people's elbow. I think we should
also
substitute
that,
with
yeah.
the elbow.
Right, Blase
Blase
does
goes
go
down,
down,
but
but gets
yeah.
rezzed, and the sights have been popped too.
Yeah, so they have to play back with their squishies here. Grapple shot going, but right now Houston is fine. They don't have to play super aggressive because there's no pressure on them at all. Nice hook.
Jerry was not expecting Blase to go on the flank again. Punk gets Nano, dives on Linkser. However, look at this payload. It is being contested currently, but Hydration being on the high ground here is hard actually for Boston Uprising to kind of get back, because if they end up going for this touch, Hydration could hide behind this big church structure and then choose the barrage. Punk ends up jumping off the map to reset himself as Color Hex gets slapped and ends up going down to the bio grenade. So Houston Outlaws now with a perfect setup with 4 ults on line 2.
There's only 3 up, and they have to be careful. Actually, they've isolated the Ana apart from the team in the stairs room. They should be able to take the high ground here. Hydration's waiting for it, though.
So he's got to be scared. Concussive Blast didn't actually end up landing. It got Matrix. However, Bob on the high ground is going to make sure that Hydration injects. They have to play a little bit more stealth. When the backline, Hydration using the barrage. He gets hooked, but it disconnects. Is that going to cost them anything, I wonder? Jexy ends up going down to Bob. Self-destruct used as well to claim the space on the high ground for the Outlaws. The Uprising, though, are just sitting on this payload, pretty happy with themselves, as Halo popped the Valk and pushed everybody up and healed everybody up as well.
Well, it's going to be enough time for Hydration to get back, but I wonder if Jerry's just going to wait for him to try to get back. The rest of the Outlaws are in no position to be able to help Hydration on his respawn. The hook's going to take out Meko.
Yeah, I mean, you're just waiting for these hooks now as they do come out from this small room. Linkser ends up going down to Color Hex. Fusions without a heal ends up getting jumped on by Blase using that whole hog. Matrix can't last forever, unfortunately. Punk. And he has to phone it in as he ends up going down. And Blase now with the Nano pushing up into this high ground. There's a very good position for Uprising to be in, though. Bob has been sent out yet again. Jerry is doing so much damage. And the spawn advantage, too, is just great for the Uprising here. These fights are looking very winnable for the Outlaws, but it's just this slow, methodical play from the Uprising, making sure they can test the payload every single time one of the Outlaws ends up touching it to try and push it onto this second point. A nano boost onto the Tracer, doesn't find all too much and is bathed in the defense matrix too, as Hydration tried to go for the kill but couldn't make it work.
I think they're just making sure that that Tracer lives, so maybe an overcommitment as the Matrix was there and the Nano was committed to that Tracer to keep them alive too, but a fully stabilized Boston defense now in the position that they want. Jerry's gone over to the Widow to match Linkser. For the moment, he has to hide out because Infrasight gives Linkser the advantage.
Oh my
Color Hex
word.
has had a rough one. It's been a rough game for him.
Maybe Linkser's already warmed up. He takes the head off of Color Hex, and now Blase with the Nano and the whole hog. Nothing can stop him now. As a Punk might be able to touch here, but it's looking highly doubtful that he's going to stay alive for any meaningful amount of time. And yeah, even with Linksa on the high ground, a couple of body shots and the finishing blows from Hydration should be enough. There you go, Halo falls 2. And that will be the second point for the Outlaws. And now, Hex, I think Hydration's going to struggle here. Farah in this point, not so great.
It's not great, but it's also not great at Control Center, and they ran it there. Although, of course, the result's non-ideal. So it seems like Houston is just deadlocked into this composition. They really, really want to run the Farah. Of course, we'll see what happens. You kind of want to maybe see if you can get a barrage value before you end up switching. And, you know, he's not dead, so he can't just straight up switch off. You could, but it's generally a bad idea. And they're just getting free push.
Oh, Hydration. He sleeps. Pulse bomb. He's waiting for the Matrix to wear off. There it is. The stick. It landed, but he was already dead. Linksa at least kills Myungbong, but it shouldn't matter. I mean, they managed to sleep for the damage dealer, and Linksa ended up going down, so that should be it. The Outlaws are going to run away. But one thing I do want to mention here as well, Hex, speaking of Ana, because you're taking so much damage as a team because you have no shields, the Ana is getting nano boosts in a blink of an eye. Like, it is so fast. And it can be so devastating too, because what I was mentioning before with the hogs, funny interactions, when the hog gets dragged into the enemy team, if you just nano him, that's a hog delivery system. That's completely free space that you're taking, right? And then the enemy team there has to try and sleep him and nade him and trying to actually deal with him. So got to keep in mind that these Anas are going to have nano boost up more often than not. Nice hook onto fusions. He got bio grenaded as well, so couldn't get healed. And now Lynx is on a perfect perch.
Yeah, Hydration is staying on this Farah because now that I think about it, his hero pool doesn't really allow him to switch to anything else that's much more effective. Generally thought of as a projectile player. He's getting the damage, and now in Boston in a rough situation here. Whole Hog's got to be big, but that's a nice pick to start it.
Yeah, very nice pick. That bio grenade as well as Collex following up, but he manages to find Jexay too, who went for the res. Linksa is still alive, mind you. Those invulnerability frames are helping him out. Hydration high in the sky with a barrage at hand, but Jerry is taken out. Repel. There's not a lot of healing now available ready for the Outlaws. I mean, it's going to be up to Hydration to find something, but his fuel canisters, they're all out of juice, so he can't get up to the skylight once again, and Color Hex takes him out. 50 seconds remains now for the Outlaws to put this payload into this third point.
The Color Hex redemption tour there at the end, because he spent a lot of this map sleeping and gobbling up resources just to keep him alive, but he comes up huge there at the end, gets a couple of final blows and some nice kills to keep his team back in it. We are below a minute. They are still holding on to this barrage. It can be a good barrage point if you can get where Hydration was, above the spawn, using that perch, using the angles to surf and wait for them to come out, but he's going to be hard to get there now. Houston only has the barrage. Huge sleep.
Are you kidding me again? Another massive sleep from Myungbong. Houston tried to get this big flank off with Hydration's barrage and Jexay as well. The sleep into the nade. Linksa clicks 2 heads though. That's what you want to see. And they managed to get the miracle res onto Hydration too. So both Linksa and Hydration being alive is a fantastic way to start this fight. They used the barrage, they managed to find one, and Linksa kills another one. Speaking about being warmed up, Linksa is turned on. Myungbong falls. Color Hex, it's all up to him now to try and defend this payload. They managed to get the resurrection onto Myungbong, and Blase takes out Color Hex. They still control the payload, but the spawns are there for the Uprising. Blase pushing already back with the Nano Whole Hog, but now it is OT. They can't leave the payload as Hydration jumped on Doomfist, as well as the Echo for Linksa to try and get back in time, but Blase is just taking over the game using this flanking Hog.
Well, all the kills, all the trades are going to favor the defense here, and Bob might just seal this one.
No, it is Jerry staying alive in the back. Myungbong's being pocketed too. He managed to take out Linksa, but Linksa ends up paying him in kind, but it's all about Jerry at the end of it. Blase was trying so hard, just as soon as people were coming out of spawn, he was there, waiting for them,
on that flank
waiting for the hooks and the insta-kills, or just the hooks and the damage from stopping the rest of the Uprising actually getting to that payload, but it wasn't good enough. Jerry and Myungbong went all the way back to the right-hand door to try and get out of the spawn and avoiding Blase, and then Jerry just kind of sits there, Myungbong pockets him, and the rest is really history. Outlaws don't get that third point captured, so that does mean the map is going to end here, Hex. The Boss and Uprising, remember, are on match point, and they could, right here, just knock out the Outlaws and see themselves through to the next round.
I mean, Myungbong has just been fantastic. You think about the end and it looked chaotic, but what they really need to look at is just getting better trades for Boston. And Myungbong was able to take out not only the Pharah with the dart, but later he's able to take down Jexay. That's so much healing out of the mix. It makes Hydration feel like he has to play more passively. He doesn't have the pocket anymore. I just cannot say enough about this Ana play from the Boston Uprising. And you're right, Jack. If Boston finishes this map, they will knock Houston Outlaws out of the Overwatch season. That's it. You're done. See you next year.
So on this defense, Lynx is on the Widow. Colorhex on the Widow as well. Oh dear, yeah, I know exactly where he is. Oh, Hydration takes a little bit of damage, but nothing more than that. You can hide around the clock tower here. I like the way the Outlaws are actually playing this. Hydration's onto the left, and then you have Meko up on the high ground too on the D.Va and the Hog for the... Just means they have to... Oh, what a shot! Oh, Colorhex. Oh, he'll be feeling that one next season. Lynx goes to the skies as well, tries for another fancy shot onto Halo there, ends up missing, but I'll take that shot onto Colorhex any day of the week.
Oh, that's one where you let the kill cam run if you're Tracer. Like, oh, that was sus. He's playing weird angs. No urgency.
Oh, he's going for him again. Oh, the angs are too good. Oh, challenging him once more. No, Lynx get away. He's taking shots at Jerry, and Lynx is going to be able to get healed up. Okay, Jerry's in an odd situation where he's on the low ground. They nano punk to get him to the high ground and take out Hydration, but the healing was too great for them to do anything.
Gets him a little bit of space at the very least. They've been nanoing Punk constantly, and Lynxer, just too many targets around, gets taken out, resurrected immediately, and they take out Jerry in kind.
Blase is permanently on the flank, mate, by the way. This is ridiculous. Pulse bomb from Colorhex goes a little bit wide, but Blase went on the flank, killed Jerry, but then gets taken out himself, and that just left, well, an easy resurrection. If you are Boston Uprising, Fusions gets anti-naded, but still, Boston Uprising are pushing forward. Colorhex has managed to isolate the Mercy in the back. Jexay doesn't really stand a chance here. He goes down, and this is the Uprising taking the point all the way to first. Maybe there's a contest here, but it's going to be up to Blase to really touch, but he's around the corner. He's not going to live all too long.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. The last two people to die for Houston were both of their supports, so it's going to be hard to get them back into the mix, although it does seem like Blase has designs on getting out here. He does.
No one can hide.
They want to go for it. Oh, instantly killed. Barrage from Hydration onto the flank. Ends up killing Colorhex, but no, there you go. There's the point. The whole Hog was good enough. Fusions managed to push everybody away. I spoke about it before, it's like Sigma, the way that you can just flux people off the point. The whole Hog just pushes everybody away. You can't be blamed for the C9s there. Unfortunately, it's just the Hog being a better player.
So Boston's going to take this one, and Houston did commit Barrage to that last fight, and Infrasight too. An Infrasight even doubly valuable against a non-Widow hit scan in the Ashe. Jerry goes low, but he's got the pocket in him. So now it's just going to be about kind of taking over this high ground if you're the Boston offense, but you can do it in a way that's like you kind of just keep playing at it, right? Just send Punk up, maybe get a scoop off. Really, you just want to push it through the bridge.
Yeah, Jerry's doing the same thing, using his coach gun to get to high ground.
Yeah,
and then just
it's like a feigned
back
pressure
down
though.
again.
They don't have any designs on actually going to high ground. They just want you to think they are. Now Jerry does go up there and
he
gets
hooked.
hooked.
He stayed just half a second too long. And then Lynx also kills off Colorhex. So, yeah, this fight is very much won by the Hog.
Yeah, if he didn't land on high ground, which they haven't been doing this entire pressure, he would have been fine. But he decides to dip his toe in. There's a matrix in front of him, so he can't get any shots. And then he just gets hooked in. That ends that pressure, that push. Houston's able to hold on to this high ground.
I can see the call though, Hex, I will say that, because Blase's been hanging around this top right-hand side. You see the perfect hang. And, I mean, at the end of the day, you end up going up. Sometimes you're not really expecting the Hog there, because he's like, okay, he's playing up top right, there's no worries. They're going to try and push him off the high ground now. And yeah, Blase is going to just go back to the rest of his team, but there's not much of it left. Jexay ends up going down to a pulse spot, and now the Boston Uprising can get this payload moving again.
Yeah, there should be plenty of pressure, though. That's a nice return kill onto the Myungbong.
God, we spoke about Lynx maybe not being warmed up enough, you know? All this weight of the world on his shoulders, but he is proving that he don't need no warm-ups. He's ready for action. Barrage onto the Mega Pack room as well. Yeah, goodbye, Jerry. You ain't surviving that one. Mega with the perfect, the Matrix as well to make sure Hydration didn't go down. Fusion sleeps, but he's going to be okay. And Outlaws, they burn a fair bit of time actually on this second stage. It's been tough for the Uprising actually just to claim any semblance of high ground.
Well, Boston has what they like to have to try to claim high ground. If you think back to even Numbani, this is how they were able to win fights on the offense. You nano Punk, let him go up there and scoop people off. Jerry can then thrive in the chaos. Jerry also has the option to throw Bob to the backline to try to clean these things up. There's the nano onto Punk.
Yeah, this has been the name of the game for so long at this point. Just nano the team again to the high ground, take out one of the DPS, or at least try to. The Resurrection is coming through. Can he stop it? Yes, he can! Jexay and Lynx are end up going down to Punk with the nano, and now the Uprising are in a good spot. Fusions also has the whole hog too, so he can just force the Outlaws from away from the point. Self-destruct from Meko as he gets demech'd. Doesn't find anything, but Fusions finds him yet again and desuits him. Yeah, Rappel fighting for his life. He's got Jexay at his back, but it's going to be all up to Lynxer. Self-destruct and a whole hog. It kills Lynxer, just clips his kneecap, I think, past that wall, and that'll be point 2 done. Boston Uprising now, Hex. They are 80 meters away from knocking the Outlaws out and going to the next round.
Well, Boston, that has been their gameplay for a while. When you watch this Boston team enough, you know that they kind of fall in love with set plays, and they have very specific strategies on how to win fights, and it's been nanoing Punk to take over high grounds for this team the entire time. Now Boston has the play where they'd like to get Color Hex onto Rappel. Rappel has been dealing with Color Hex all day. The duel's been pretty even. Color Hex needs to hit a stick here.
Oh, hydration. Oh, the stick. Oh, it gets eaten again. Meko once more eating another ult. Color Hex is having the worst time getting his pulse bombs off. Blase, with a right click, manages to kill off Jerry. Good start. The Resurrection, I believe, was already used too, but Fusions pays Blase a little bit of visit. He was staying there way too long, and now Punk gets nano once again. He's now on the high ground. This is disaster for the Houston Outlaws. Rappel is going to go down as well, and they control the payload.
Punk is all over the place. He has been the most important damage dealer for this Boston team in the last 60 seconds ago. Jerry just needs to hit a couple of shots to put Bob out here on the point. Blase will have whole hog to buy them time. Barrage has to find somebody. They take out Blase.
Hydration's got a barrage, but he can't do anything. The sleep on diffusions is massive. It stops the whole hog, but the damage is really there. Jexay falls. The Resurrection onto Jerry as well. It looks all about over. Jerry's bomb, but Jerry do it. Boston Uprising have taken out the Outlaws 3-1, and we'll go to the next round. Disaster has struck, and the Outlaws are out of the playoffs.
It's been a tough year for the Houston Outlaws, and it ends in a very unfortunate fashion for them. They picked the Boston Uprising as the weakest of the pack, but metas change. Different heroes become more powerful and more popular, and Houston maybe kicking themselves they picked Boston, but look, everybody would have picked Boston. An abysmal year. 2 wins all year. Scratch that, make it 3. Now 2 of those are against the Houston Outlaws, and the meta has shifted into Boston's favor. It allows them to play Jerry non-stop on the Ashe, a hit scan god. Maybe not the best Widow, but his McCree and Ashe are super on point, and more importantly, it allows Myungbong to show off why he's always talked about when you talk about this Boston Uprising team. A god tier Ana, even on a team that's struggling, you could see his talent and his potential, Jaws.
Yeah, I mean, his heart was definitely beating, probably hands shaking, but he was still hitting the headshots over and over again. I mean, the amount of charge he was just generating, especially I'm thinking back to the defense of the Boston Uprising. Jerry has just been absolutely on fire. There is actually no other player, I think, that could have just popped off as much as he could, it feels, especially in those final few moments. He got res at the very end and then was able to just sit on the high ground, just watch the Outlaws just trickle onto the point and just hit shot after shot after shot. And Myungbong there too. Myungbong has also just been a fantastic addition to the Boston Uprising. It does break my heart a little bit seeing all the player cams at the end of it, knowing, of course, they've been knocked out. Devastating for the Outlaws and their fans, but big ups to the Boston Uprising. They have fought so long and so hard for just scrapping for every single win, and they win here and push themselves to the next round. Boston fans definitely rejoicing at this moment. They can be happy to know that Jerry was on fire, and in fact the entire squad too. Fusions was finding some nice hooks onto Blase, who was trying to play I wouldn't say like a solo queue style hog, but like he was trying to go for a lot of these flank kills, and it was working out, but Fusions seemed to after the series kind of progressed, just get his number. He knew exactly how Blase was playing, and just
Punk was playing really well. Maybe not the flashy style of D.Va that we saw on the other side, not getting these ultimate negations, but if you think about it, Halo was able to get resurrections. That's almost always on your D.Va to cover for your resurrections there. And then towards the end, he's spotting people with low health. He's pressuring out Anas. He's waiting for Ana cooldowns to go off so that he can go in. He pressures out the... I mean, that kill onto Linkser was expected. To be able to deny the resurrection was the icing on the cake there. That opened up second point, which a lot of teams can stall at, and then his rampage didn't stop there. I think you can give every member of the Boston Uprising a ton of credit today. There's a couple standouts here, and I think we want to highlight one in particular, Jaws.
Yeah, our Xfinity player of the match is going to be none other than Myungbong. What a shocker. I mean, his sleep darts today have just been astronomical. And just his ability to subdue Dante on Tracer. Like, he's been sleeping him over and over again. Like, it's just, you gotta stop. You're bullying him at this point. And that's the one thing you can do as a support, right? Is just stay alive. But not only was Myungbong doing this, and this also, by the way, this clip here with Hydration going for this big flank, he just read them like a book. Of course, you can normally hear the Pharah using the jets to kind of get elevation, but he was just waiting, not healing anybody, not sending any darts out to reveal his position. Knew exactly the game plan there of Hydration and Jexe, and managed to land the sleep and then the nade, and then they can clean up from there. I mean, what a player to give a man of the match to.
It was
or MVP
just
to,
the
sorry.
icing on the cake. And it was
Yes,
weird because of all the darts that he hit. Now, I really do kind of firmly want to say this. After watching tape last night, seeing the highlight that's at the top of the subreddit today of his mid-air darts, I don't think that I've seen an Ana be any better than this at hitting mid-air darts. You think of the highlight last year of Kariv hitting a sleep dart on Dorado. Well, I mean, it seems like Myungbong does that every single match, every single fight that he's hitting these. But on Dorado, I think he 3-tapped the Pharah just with his primary fire, and that pushes the Pharah away. So on top of the flashy plays, he's doing fundamentals, he's hitting just basic shots on people. Like, we talked about it going into today that, like, you can't overlook Boston because it is an Ana meta firmly, and they have their best player. I mean, Jerry obviously is a great player, but I think their best player all year, consistently-wise, has been Myungbong, and allowing him to play Ana. I mean, Boston, look, they've been bottom of the barrel. They should have been embarrassed most of the year, but now they win when it matters. Look, they 2 wins in the regular season, 1 in the postseason, saving those wins, saving those bucks, man. I'm really rooting. I love an underdog story, and it's been a tough year for a Boston sports fan. Bruins, Red Sox, not looking great, but now you can get on the Uprising bandwagon, and everyone loves an underdog.
Right, we've got another match for today as well. We've got the Washington Justice up against the Vancouver Titans. That's after this break. Do not go anywhere. It's going to be a banger. You're not going to want to miss it.